So we're just gonna jump right in. This is our video of our board and batten. So just starting off, removing the baseboards here, and then I'm jumping right into just taping off to see where I want everything to go. So I started cutting little pillars to put behind my baseboards because I wanted a chunky baseboard look instead of it just being flush to the wall. So that's what you see me doing here. And each one of those pillars were cut to the height so that it would lay parallel and level, because no one's floors are completely level. So I had to make sure that wherever I put a pillar, it was actually level. So there you saw me cutting 45-degree angles and also putting pocket holes in because I wanted to make sure that everything was cut and measured and put together so I can put it directly on the wall. It made it easy in concept, in theory it made it easy. But I did run into an issue down the line where I discovered that walls are also not straight and can be quite crooked. And if you already have your rails and your longer pieces already put together, you can't really make it bendable to go flush against the wall. So we'll see that later. But here again, I was using a spacer, which made it super easy. All I did was put my spacer in and measure it up and created these boxes you see. So all of the boxes are exactly the same, and you see me attaching them here with a nail gun. Some of them I did glue, like some of the longer pieces, just to make it easier because I was installing it by myself at the time. So if I could put a little glue on it and hold it, it kind of stayed in place a little bit longer. And it also would allow it not to knock against the wall. So that's what you'll see me do maybe later in one of the clips. But again, this was the part where I'm attaching it and I'm making sure that everything is lining up and my 90-degree cuts are lining up perfectly. So now we're moving into the actual hardest part, and the most tedious part was cutting this type of trim. Because it's curved, you have to make sure that you're cutting it the right way. So sometimes you have to lay it on its back or on its side to get the right 45-degree angle. But here you see me attaching it. I did use glue for all of these because it was so lightweight and I didn't want to use a lot of nails, even though I was only using pocket nails here, or excuse me, pin nails here. So the holes were much smaller, but it would just allow me not to have to use a bunch of caulk. And that leads me into another thing that if I had to do this over again, I wouldn't do. I would not use MDF, as you see I'm using here, because you have to use caulk or an epoxy to fill holes versus a wood filler that you can sand. MDF, though it technically can be sanded, it's not something that I would necessarily want to do or recommend. And down the line, we've actually had this installed for some time now. I did get a nick in one of them, and trying to fill that was a pain. So I would definitely recommend using wood if it's gonna be a high traffic zone. Ours technically is a high traffic zone, but it's just Chris and I. So, and we're not moving a bunch of furniture and stuff in and out. So the likelihood of it really being dinged up is low right now. But for longevity of the project, I would recommend using wood. So it would not be right if Mr. McKenzie did not make an appearance. So he is here attaching some trim that he routed. He did take a piece of wood to route this. I think at the time he had just gotten a brand new router and he wanted to try it out. So he did route that and he's nailing his piece in. And then after that, I added more trim of the MDF under it to also give it more of that chunky look and just to elevate it, which I don't think I mentioned earlier, but that's the reason why I use this type of trim in the inside, the curved trim in the inside of the squares. It just makes it look more elegant and more professional instead of it just being just straight squares on the wall. It really just depends on your preference on what you want. And in the next clip, you will see what is going on that wall with that drywall. It was something. So Just a little update. It has taken us a while. We had to do a lot of drywall. Chris actually did the smoothing of the drywall. The wall was really, really crooked. You can check that below. So just a tip, if you're going to be doing a little door trim or doing some wainscoting, board and batten, whatever you want to call it, make sure your wall is straight and it doesn't like curve, because ours are literally curved in. And you can see that picture. Another thing that we had that we needed to adjust was I really wanted a chunky baseboard without quarter round, and when I did that, that meant that my door trim, as you can see, this is the original door trim, was thinner than my baseboard. So I had to go in and add another door trim so the baseboard would line up or sink back behind the door trim, because you don't want this baseboard to stick out more. And the last setback was this outlet. Chris did have to go in and move the outlet because it was right here. So he had to go in and just move it over. I don't think we actually got that on camera, but you can see this is where it was, and he just moved it over here just so it could just, you know, I could keep the same look everywhere without having to box around the actual outlet. And one more time for what this used to look like, carpet and all. We have a brand new look. It was a long time coming, many, many days. As you can see, all the different outfit changes and different hairstyles in this video. It took us several weeks to get this finished, but it's done, and it saved us so much money, and it elevated our space so much. It made the hallway seem longer and the ceiling seem taller.
Maybe I don't supposed to do on that side.
Can you come get it up?
Maybe you like that. Y'all got all that, right?
A blooper. Start it over.
Let it go.